The Ishmaelites. The Bible describes the great story of the Israelites, but also, there are many stories relating to Abraham's other descendants. His beloved son Ishmael, who was born to Sarah's slave, was expelled from his father's house by Sarah's order and God's will. The story of the sons of Ishmael begins after the expulsion of Hagar, and during their journey, God gives a promise to Hagar that her son will be a great father to the nations. The Ishmaelites lived alongside the Israelites, and because of the circumcision they performed following their grandfather Abraham, God allowed them to live alongside his people. Today we will look into their story based on the biblical story. Let's begin. He was the son of a concubine of Abraham. His name was Ishmael, and the angel promised his mother he would grow up to be a wild man. However, the Bible is silent about his life. Ishmael's mother, Hagar, was an Egyptian princess who became a concubine. Shortly after Abraham ascended to the land of Canaan at God's command, the land went into famine. Having no choice, Abraham left the land to come down to Egypt. Sarah, his wife, because of her dazzling beauty, was taken by King Pharaoh. God sent an angel to prevent Pharaoh from approaching or touching Sarah, so he ordered to return Sarah to Abraham. Following the miracle, King Pharaoh gave Hagar to Sarah as a slave. During this time, Abraham knew Hagar, and Ishmael was born. After 60 years of marriage without children, Sarah decided to give Hagar the slave to Abraham so that she might have children that would make them happy. When Hagar became pregnant, she kept it in secret, and this made her despise Sarah. As a result, Sarah felt hurt, and she tortured Hagar, and in the end, Hagar ran away from the house into the desert. After running away, she receives good news from God. She meets an angel who asks her, "Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai," she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her." 10 The angel added, "I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count." The angel of the Lord also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery." Genesis 16 verses 8 to 11. He blessed her with many offspring and said that Ishmael would be. He will be a wild donkey of a man, his hand will be against everyone and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers. Genesis 16 verse 12. When Ishmael was born, Abraham was 86 years old. At the age of 99, God reveals himself to Abraham and commands him to circumcise himself and all his household. Abraham hurried to fulfill God's command, and circumcised himself and his son Ishmael, who was on his 13th birthday. The angel's words came true, and the boy Ishmael became a wild man. Sarah asked Abraham to expel his son Ishmael. He struggled to fulfill her request, but God told him, "Do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Genesis 21 verse 12. However, he promised him that Ishmael would also be blessed and even become a Gentile, the head of a great nation. Hagar set off with Ishmael on her shoulder and a bowl of water and bread in her hand. On their way, Ishmael became sick, and the water they had run out. The desperate Hagar believed that he was going to die, threw him into one of the bushes so that she would not have to see him die, and began to cry. Suddenly, an angel appeared to Hagar and showed her a well of water. Ishmael drank it, and they continued their journey to the Paran desert together. Later on, the Bible tells us that Hagar married an Egyptian bride for her son. Ishmael's next appearance in the Bible is at Abraham's funeral. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah. Genesis 25 verses 9. Ishmael himself died at the age of 137. He and Isaac were Abraham's favorite sons, one was his firstborn and the other was his chosen son. Both performed circumcisions. In honor of their father, Ishmaelites continue to observe this ritual. Therefore, Ishmaelites are the second nation in the world to follow circumcision to remember the circumcision Ishmael underwent by God's command. As a result of circumcision, the sons of Ishmael have access to the promised land. According to the Bible, these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, listed in the order of their birth: Nebaioth the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Dumah, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Genesis 25 verses 13 to 16. Moreover, Isaac was related to Ishmael through his son Esau, who married Beshem, Ishmael's daughter. The Bible mentions Ishmael's history, albeit in a very limited manner, for several reasons. The first is for Abraham's honor, to remember the many nations that came out of him, according to God's promise. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring. Genesis 21 verse 13. The second is to show that God kept his promise to Hagar. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, the covenant you are to keep, every male among you shall be circumcised. You are to undergo circumcision, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. For the generations to come every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner, those who are not your offspring. Genesis 17 verses 10 to 12. Lastly, the Israelites must know their names and not provoke them to take the land that they were given by God. In biblical literature, Ishmaelites refers to wandering tribes in the deserts near the land of Israel, in the Syrian-Arabian desert, in the Negev, in the Sinai, and the Arabian Peninsula. According to the Bible and external sources, Nebaioth, the eldest son of Ishmael and Kedar, stands out in particular. Isaiah names Nebaioth and Kedar among the dwellers of the tents in the deserts that border the land of Israel on the east and southeast. Their livelihood was based on raising sheep. The Aramaic translation translated the name Nebaioth. During the Second Temple period, there was a great Arab kingdom that was centered in Petra, founded by Nebaioth, an Arab tribal leader. According to Ezekiel, Kedar appears next to the name Arab. Arabia and all the princes of Kedar were your customers, they did business with you in lambs, rams and goats. Ezekiel 27 verse 21. The names Nebaioth and Kedar were mentioned as the main Arab tribes that fought against Esarhaddon and Ashurbanipal, kings of Assyria. Following the abolition of the name Ishmaelites, the names of other nomadic units were abolished as well: Amalekites, Midianites and Geranium. The Assyrian literature and the Bible refer to these people as Arabs. In the second half of the 8th century BC, after Damascus and Samaria were destroyed, they spread to Syria and Israel. Until the advent of Islam, Arabs did not associate themselves with Ishmael. Yet, during the Second Temple period, a Jewish tradition emerged connecting Arabs to Ishmael. According to this tradition, Ishmael's sons had names that sounded like the names of kingdoms in ancient Arabia around the first millennium BC. The stories about Ishmael, Hagar, and Abraham were also told to Arab tribes after the destruction of the Second Temple by exiles from Judah. These stories also reached the ears of Muhammad, the founder of Islam, who claimed to be a descendant of Abraham through his son Ishmael. The Ishmaelites were known in the Bible as nomads and merchants. They were spread across the Sinai desert and traveled from Havilah to Shur in the Syrian-Arabian desert and the Arabian Peninsula. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt, as you go toward Ashur. And they lived in hostility toward all the tribes related to them. Genesis 25 verses 16 to 18. Traveling in caravans, such as the one that sold Joseph to Egypt, they passed through these areas. In the way of nomads, they were camel riders and engaged in raising sheep. They lived in tents and courtyards. Even David had a minister in charge of the camels, and his name was Obil the Ishmaelite. In addition to wearing gold jewelry, Ishmaelite merchants traded in gold, perfume, and precious stones. We hope you learned something new today. If you did, give this video a like and share it with your friends. You can share with us what you know by leaving a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. Thank you so much and see you next time.